change things in their favor, but they were in for yet another surprise. Despite how painfully thin she appeared, Eve didn't go for the food right away. Eve proceeded to eat the entire pizza and requested 2 more large slices from the lunch that the police had. As Eve ate, the plan was to focus on opening the safe, but suddenly a new priority emerged. With no warning, Ruby Franke, Russell and Eve's mother, arrived on scene. After determining that she had no weapons on her, she was taken to a separate area of the house to wait out the search. The police would check in with Ruby once they finished going through the house. The only place left to look was the basement safe room. When they opened the door, though, they were likely crushed. Julie was not inside. At first glance, the room looked to be nothing more than a barren bolt hole reserved for emergencies. When they started opening drawers, though, they turned up some stomach-churning evidence. Handcuffs, a length of rope, and a carabiner. Based on the condition of Russell and Eve, the police received an official search warrant that enabled them to collect these items, along with many of the electronics, as evidence. But even after being in the house for hours, there was still no sign of Julie or the other Franke siblings. The only certain thing was what should happen with Jody and Ruby. They were both placed under arrest for aggravated child abuse.
Okay, just place your hand behind your back for me. Perfect.
During the arrest process, the officers likely noticed some strange behavior from Ruby. She didn't say a single word, even when put in the back of a police car with Jody. The police had to hope she would be more verbose when the time came to ask her how Russell and Eve had gotten in such miserable conditions.
Sure, go ahead and have a seat. She is definitely not a talker.
She not? Even
if I ask her a name, or just like, not even asking about things, she looks at me and goes.
While Jody was at least responding to direct questions, whether she would respond to the hard ones police had in store was yet to be seen.
I'm a little nervous.
You're nuts. You know, to be honest with you, if I was sitting over there, I'd be a little nervous too. So don't worry about it. We're just here to talk.
He said, I'll be nervous too, but don't worry about it.
Your side.
So I trust my attorney. He said, don't say anything. And I said, I have nothing to hide. And he's like, I know that, but just let me be there with you when you talk. So you guys seem nice people. I'd like to just tell you, but I don't know.
Why do you need your attorney right away if you didn't do anything?
Who you are? I don't know if you're going to flip my words. I'm a psychologist. I've watched people flip things all the time. So I get it. And I sit on your side. I get it. It looks sad that I don't want to answer anything, but it's not because I'm trying to be difficult.
Even though Jody refused to talk without a lawyer, trying to get
Why would you not want to talk about your own children?
information from Ruby was astronomically more difficult.
We're just here to talk to you about kind of a few things involving your kids. So first, do you live down here, or? Or do you live up north? Do you want to talk to me about where you live, or how many kids you have? You don't want to talk to us about anything?
So yeah, this is just your chance.
Certainly guilty.
Tell us, we're just trying to get your side of the story. So it's your chance to do that. But it's up to you.
I'll wait till I have a lawyer. Okay. So do you want this at all?
There was hardly any doubt that the two women had done horrible things to Ruby's children. But with both women unwilling to talk, the police still had no idea why. Answers, though, were closer than anyone thought. When the detectives first got to the police station, they found a surprise visitor waiting. Ruby's husband, Kevin Frankie, was there, and he wanted to pick up his kids. With so many burning questions pertaining to the Frankie family, Kevin was detained and taken to a third interrogation room where he was read his rights.
How did you find out that you needed to come here to the street?
I received a message that I needed to come pick up my kids from the police department in Highlands.
And who was that message from?
Well, I prefer not to say right now.
Does it make sense that that would happen? I'm just not aware of anyone who did that from our department.
Right. And I'm not comfortable saying right now who reached out to me.
Okay.
Was that Jody?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Kevin was keeping quite close-lipped. However, it wasn't all bad news. Back at Jody's house, Eve finally seemed to be warming up to law enforcement.
You don't want to talk? Okay. There's nothing at all you want to talk about? It's okay to talk to me. Are you scared? We helped your brother. And we got him some help too. And that's what we want to do for you. Is we want to get you some help too. We are safe. We will not hurt you, and we won't do anything to hurt you.
It took a total of 4 hours before Eve was willing to leave the closet with medical personnel. When examining her in the ambulance, EMTs discovered that she had wounds on her feet and decided that she and Russell both needed to go to the hospital. Thankfully, as Kevin's conversation with police continued, he was willing to provide some crucial context.
And how many kids do you have, Kevin?
I have 6 kids.
So are they all living with you, or
No, I haven't seen them for over a year.
any of them?
No, none of them.
For a year.
Over a year.
Okay.
I've been in a separation
From who?
from my wife and family. Ruby invited me to leave the home
Mm-hmm.
while I thought about the choices that I
He definitely seems like something wrong with him also.
have made in my life and the way that I've treated her.
And did you ever try to reach out to the kids, drop by the home, or was there?
I honored the no separation boundary that we agreed to.
When's the last time you saw Ruby?
The last time I saw her
Yeah.
was the 18th of this month. We met she requested me to sign over vehicles, or the titles to the vehicles. The vehicle that she drives were all in my name.
When's the last time you physically saw Russell or Eve?
The day that I moved out, July 24th, 2022. So my job is to financially provide for
I was trying to figure out how much of a role do you play in the caretaking of specifically of those two kids?
I pay the bills.
Okay.
With my job, I provide the money, goes into a shared bank account, and that's my only involvement.
As the conversation went on, Kevin seemed to be just as in the dark as the investigators.
Who lives in that home with your, is it ex-wife? Is she currently a separated wife? Like, who lives in that home with your children?
To be honest, I don't know. I know that she's there with 4 of the children, and our 2 older children have moved out.
This likely came as a shock to investigators. If there were 4 Frankie children still living at home, that meant they weren't just missing Julie, but another one of Russell's teenage sisters, Abby. Before launching into a frantic search, the detectives decided to finish talking to Kevin, hoping he could give them an idea of where to look for the girls. As the conversation went on, though, Kevin's story only got stranger.
Who's that female Jody that your wife was? Do you know a female named Jody?
She is a therapist and a life coach, and she's...
Do you respect her?
Do I respect her? Yeah, I think she's a very
Therapist. It looks like she needs therapy herself.
honest, truthful person, yes.
Okay. Is your wife a partner of hers? Is your wife a roommate with her? If your kids are living in her house, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm not aware of that, but I know that they've been in business for the last year filming. So every week a podcast goes up and I listen to it.
What's the name of it?
Connections with an X.
This would explain the film set discovered in Jody's house. As it turned out, Jody and Ruby both had a significant following on Instagram and YouTube. Jody was a therapist, and her accounts focused on counseling and family dynamics in alignment with the Church of Latter-day Saints, of which she and Ruby were both members. She called her program Connections, and had written several books sharing her methods, and even taught online Zoom classes on the topics of family health and harmony. Ruby, meanwhile, created more slice-of-life content, cataloging daily life with her family as members of the Mormon faith. Her main platform was a YouTube account titled 8 Passengers, supplemented with an Instagram under the same name. In due time, the police would learn that the content made by Ruby and Jody had become unimaginably twisted behind the scenes.
Are you involved with their business efforts, or
No.
And were you involved in the Passengers account with your family?
Yes. I was in the videos.
Recently, Ruby's online presence had undergone a shift. She rebranded to Truth Mom, but began focusing less on her own channel in favor of working with Jody on Connections.
You guys got a lot of food for neglect and child abuse. A lot of people commented those things on there. Why were they commenting those things?
That's a good question. We had a son who was acting out in very selfish behavior.
just chat, or
Yes, that's with Chad. And, none of this is strange or odd. You can get on YouTube and find out all sorts of stuff on this.
Eventually, Ruby stopped posting on her private YouTube account altogether, which Kevin said eliminated 90% of the family's income. Her last video on Jody's channel, though, had come out just 2 days ago. In the interrogation room, Kevin shared more about the situation, which led to public outcry against the Frankies.
He was being very cruel and mean to his siblings that he shared a room with, and so we removed him from the room. And we said, you can sleep anywhere you want. Sleep on the couch, sleep on the pull-out bed, sleep on the floor for all we care, but you're not sleeping in that room with your brother. He chose to sleep on a beanbag. So 9 months later, he had made a lot of changes in his life, and he was ready to, and we had moved by that time, and so we had a new house, and he was ready to move into his own bedroom. Made a video about it, and in the video he mentioned something of the effect of, I've been sleeping for 9 months on a beanbag. And that is what all the uproar was about.
This wasn't Ruby's only run-in with the law. Shockingly, just 5 days before her arrest, she'd been pulled over while driving, with her kids in the car.
Hello. You know how fast you're going right there? No. Okay. Got you going 57 and a 35.
Ruby was sent on her way with only a speeding ticket. Back with Kevin, he explained that the situation with his oldest son, Chad, was the catalyst for Jody getting involved with the family. She was hired as Chad's therapist and had the boy personally paying her $900 a month. From there, her involvement with the family only grew. How this could have led to the breakup of the family and the near starvation of 2 of the children was yet to be explored.
During your marriage, how was disciplining your kids? How would you discipline your kids?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Are you aware of the physical condition of your children?
No, I've chosen to trust my wife with the children. That was part of the agreement of our separation.
Kevin was about to learn the harrowing consequences this decision has caused.
we received a phone call from 911 on our dispatch that a 12 to 13-year-old boy was knocking on doors in a neighborhood asking for food and water. So he had duct tape on his extremities, on his hands, on his
I've heard of this stuff from Mormons. Mormons are so weird.
ankles, and those were covering rope burns that were used to tie him down. Take a second and think about what I just said. That's the condition of your son. Given that information, your son was taken to the hospital. A warrant has been applied and granted by the Department of Child and Family Services to remove both Russell and Eve from your wife's care. Do you understand that?
I understand.
Would you condone that behavior?
Would I condone that behavior?
That's my job. My job is to find out your knowledge of the treatment of these
based on
precious children.
No. But again, I don't know the details, or I don't know what's going on. But as you described that sounds horrible,
disgusting. No human being should be treated like that.
The investigators stepped out to give Kevin a few private moments to come to terms with what he'd just learned. When the investigative team returned 10 minutes later, Kevin took the opportunity to ask a burning question.
What's going to happen? It's my wife. I love my wife.
I don't know. I'm being honest with you. I don't know. Haven't had anything to do with
I don't know if those charges against my wife.
Possibly. I think given the circumstances, that's highly appropriate, but again,
That night, the police decided that Ruby would be booked into jail to await her attorney. Even this, though, failed to get a reaction from her.
Trace, you want to let you know what criminal charges for, so you're under arrest? It's going to be 2 counts, second-degree felony of child abuse or neglect, okay? Do you understand that or no? Are you okay? I'm wondering if there's like a medical clearance that needs to, like, do you need medical attention before you go to the jail? Okay. Have you ever been arrested before? I'm just concerned about you. I know you don't believe that. But I've had an opportunity to talk to your husband and kind of worried about your circumstances and obviously your children as well.
Mm-hmm.
You're sure you don't need medical attention or anything like that?
Jody, too, was escorted to a police car to be transported to jail facing the same charges. Still inside the police station, Kevin learns more from the investigators about the children.
And so, I mean, this feels like getting run over by a speed truck while you're sharing with me today.
Yeah, I can tell you're caught off guard.
I thought I was just coming here to pick up my kids, or what, I don't know what or why, but and I was planning on taking them back with me. Everything you're sharing with me just sounds like a made-up story. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, it's just, it sounds like a horror movie.
I think he knows everything.
And what you're sharing with me just feels like a sucker punch. I feel responsible. Separating, leaving. It hurts. I know you're all doing your jobs. And I know you all have the best interests of my kids.
No.
Thanks. That means a lot.
I just want my kids
When
back.
he hits my
Want
line
my
out,
family back. My wife back.
It was doubtful either Ruby or Jody would be getting out of jail anytime soon. Jody grappled with this through the lens of religion while speaking with a friend she called from the county jail.
And I don't know if I'm going to be like some kind of example, but when I get out of here, I have a story to tell, and I'm going to try to do everything I can to protect the children, because that's what's happening, is that kids are being just horribly abused. Well, I have just been begging him, like, you've got to explain this to me. Like, I cannot logically figure out what's going on here. I mean, I shouldn't be here. I haven't done anything wrong.
Ruby, too, made some equally baffling claims during her jailhouse phone calls.
But the most upsetting thing is that I am completely misunderstood. That is the most horrible feeling. Like, my own family misunderstands me. They misinterpret me. And poor Jody, they misinterpret her. They misunderstand her. She puts her neck out on the line for people, and then they get mad at her. I mean, it is just horrendous. It's horrendous. And you know what? Every Joseph Smith, every wonderful man of God has had to be misunderstood. And I'm a good woman. I don't do naughty things. This is a witch hunt.
It wasn't all dark and twisted news, though. In a stroke of luck, the police located Julie and Abby. Shockingly, they were nowhere near the family home in Springville. Rather, they were located more than 20 miles away, at a house belonging to Ruby's friend and fellow Connections member, Pam. How she'd gotten there, though, remained in question. Pam was handcuffed when the police arrived and agreed to answer some questions while waiting for additional investigators to arrive. While one officer sat with her, the other took the opportunity to check in with Julie.
Do you need medical attention at all? Okay. Is there a reason you're so scared right now? It's us? Okay. Well, I'm sorry if you've had a negative interaction with law enforcement in the past, okay? My intention is not to scare you. Do you go to school?
Down the driveway, Pam was unhandcuffed when investigators arrived from Springville. She told them that she'd received a call from Ruby asking her to pick up two of her daughters while she dealt with a family emergency. Up until this point, the officers were under the impression that it was only Julie at the house, but Pam clarified that her older sister Abby was also there. Thankfully, neither she nor Julie appeared to be in physical distress like Russell or Eve. Julie and Abby appeared hesitant to go with DCFS representatives when they arrived,